We wanted to bring you up to date with what we're doing in the training program, the OFA Training Program, and I've got a lot of slides here, and I'm going to try to do something as clever as Sean did and blow through them pretty quickly, and I'll explain why I put them all here. Basically, OFA training. Yeah, that one right there. So, as you know, all these presentations get put up on the OFA site afterwards. So, part of my objective in including this material was for all the people that will download it afterwards and want to look at this, because what I really did is the slides are two parts. The first part is that it's going over all the material we've already created for the programming course that we have in place, and then there's a discussion about the new Fabric Admin course that we're working on. So, let's see. There we go. So, as most of you know, about a year and a half ago, we started developing the program called Writing Applications for RDMA using OFA Software. And this program has been in place now, and we've given about 8 instances of this course, both at the University of New Hampshire and at a number of places throughout the country and in Europe. And it's been very well received. So I'm not going to go over all the information in each one of these slides, as I said, because there's just too much material here. And if you're interested in the details, you can do this. So the first section, the first major bullet, writing applications. The next major bullet down below there is the Fabric Admin. That part of it I want to talk to you about a little bit in more detail. So this goes through some of the goals when we were putting that program together, what we were trying to do, the people we were trying to target. This goes into some of the instructors. I'll just touch on the fact that one of the people that has led the development of this program, Dr. Russell, he's got about 30 years of teaching operating systems and networks, and he's a real RDMA expert, and in fact contributed some protocol extensions to the stack. So, and the other person involved, Paul Grun, I think most of you know Paul, worked for Intel for many years, and he brings a slightly different aspect to the group, because he's a good architect and a good hardware guy, so he's been very instrumental in working with the students. This is where we primarily base ourselves, in the University of New Hampshire Interoperability Lab. You can see it's a nice facility. We've got 32,000 square feet, lots of students to work with to do the grunt work, and we'll go into this a little bit later, but we've got iWarp, IB, and Windows clusters, thanks to participation from a number of vendors. So we give the programming course in 2 parts. The first part is given actually by Paul, and it's 138 slides. And what we try to do is we try to just go into the reasoning behind RDMA, what it's trying to accomplish and how it's doing it. The second part is the actual code. It consists of 425 slides and 20 complete client-server programs trying to illustrate all the material we're trying to cover. This is just a little idea of the requirements. We don't require people to be experts. We like them to have knowledge of C and Linux, but they don't have to be RDMA experts. That's the whole point. More socket-type programmers is what we're looking for. This was the syllabus that we first began with and this is what I'll be talking to you about on the Fabric Admin. We went through, and these were the things that we wanted to teach, and we focused on when we put this material together. And so the next set of slides, approximately 15 or so that I'm going to just whip through, are actually slides from the program, sort of pulled at random, just to kind of illustrate the kinds of things that we've done and what we're actually presenting to the students. So we begin with this slide because we call it the big picture. It's all the pieces that we want to teach the students and how they have to go about programming. And it kind of ties in with what Sean said, that it's really very simple. All you got to do is get all this stuff done. So, so that's where we begin, and then we kind of go into this architectural part, like I said with Paul, explaining what are the benefits, why are you here, what are you trying to accomplish, what can you get out of this. The things we all know and love, the low latency, kernel bypass. Paul always loves to talk about reducing memory bandwidth bottlenecks, and of course the bandwidth. And as you notice, we talk extensively about IB, IWARP, and Rocky. We include all. So then we try to explain the difference in various conventional I/O versus RDMA I/O, the differences in address translation and how that happens. And we've got this nice illustration of trying to tell people, look, the upper layer, it's all the same. The transport doesn't really matter. That's the beauty of what we're working with this OFA software. And then, of course, we present the tried and true OFA image in the stack. And then this idea is, what we did is we sort of tried to get a pyramid. As we're going through this, we sort of say, here's all the verbs that you need, and we're going to explain to you sort of from a top-down point of view what you've got to do, what order you've got to do it in, and how to do it. And the same thing with the data structures. And the idea behind it is that the green indicates things we've already covered. The red means there's still some things open that we've got to do and cover. And then I thought I'd just throw in a few slides sort of showing the actual programming calls and the things that we're helping people understand and figure out. What we try to do, as you can see too, we use lots of illustration to help people understand what's going on and what we're trying to do. So, the scatter gather, we're trying to, we go through the words, but we also try to leave them with an image. And all of this material, of course, is available to all the students. They get to take this home with them, and we hope that this becomes a very good reference. We've got, as I said, almost 600 slides of material for them to work with. So this just goes into memory regions and protection domains. Then we're sort of showing how things, once they're in the scatter-gather element, how they get out on the wire. And then we actually walk through a particular send-work request. Here's all the structures and the data elements in that, and how to post a send. And then we go back through the breakdown, how to get back out of everything that you've done. And then finally, we try to spend quite a bit of time on the multicast because that was important to the financial services, and it seemed like there was a certain amount of confusion about how that all works. So again, we've got a good diagram, but we've also got some very good programs that illustrate this as well. And this just goes into a little bit of the details on multicast. And so that's basically our existing course. That's the programming course that we have. And I've gone through close to 3/4 of the slide, so I apologize for going fast, but I just thought it would be, I know it's close to dinner time, and I didn't want to hold you too long. So the next part of these next 11 slides are basically that in the course of delivering this programming course, we've heard over and over again people want to know more about, people call it system administration, fabric administration. So the first thing we did is sort of what we did with the programming course. We tried to create syllabuses, come up with an idea from the end user's point of view, what they wanted, what was needed. So the first thing we realized is that we really need to take into consideration the fact that there's IB, IWARP, and Rocky out there. And it was very clear to us, both from the end user and you as our community, that InfiniBand had a lot of needs, that the management is somewhat complex. It's different from Ethernet-based management. We knew that there was a certain amount of knowledge already out there about Ethernet, so we knew there was some work to do there, but we went out and got the help of a number of people in the IWARP community to make sure that we were going to cover everything that needed to be covered. So basically, knowing that that upper layer, all the APIs are the same, we're going to cover some of that, but again, the major thing that we're looking at is the distinction between the IB management and the way Ethernet and IP management is done. So what we ended up, after a careful evaluation, is that we knew we had to do the IB fabric admin, but we also decided that we needed to spend some time on the iWarp as well. So the idea is that what we're going to do, we're going to have these fabric admin courses, and we're going to build them in modules. And our thought was, too, that we could have done a 3-day course and tried to cover everything, but a guy that was really focused on iWarp doesn't want to sit through all about how to do InfiniBand administration. So we decided, looking at the material, there's basically 2 days worth of material for IB. We think a day will do it on iWarp, and those are the 2 that we want to focus on first, and based on what we find out about that and how that goes, we'll then be well prepared to do Rocky. And some of Rocky will get covered through the iWarp module as well, just because of the Ethernet orientation. So, as I said at the very last bullet, one of the major benefits is that we can target that. We can say, look, if you're interested in IB as well as iWarp, come to all 3 days. If all you care about is IB, first 2, iWarp, the last day. We're suggesting that the primary venue, again, be UNH IOL, just because we've got the OFA cluster there, got a great facility. We have dedicated classroom. We can fit 24 people in a classroom, and then there's another section where we can fit as many as 100 people at a time to do this. So we've got lots of place. And one of the things that we want to do is what we found in the programming course, frankly, there just isn't a lot of time to do hands-on programming. It's dense, complicated, concentrated material. But in this course, we feel the hands-on is really important. So we want them there. We do feel that we could probably do this remotely because Nick, who you'll all meet in a little bit here, has got things set up nicely that we can give people VPN access, remote access. So it can be done remotely, but we think the local teaching is the best way to do it. So the next couple slides are just the syllabus, actually, what we're planning to begin with. And I showed you the syllabus for the programming course, and that was 1 page, and we ended up with 600 slides. So you'll have to realize that this is very high level. Lots of detail will be added, but these are the kinds of things that we're thinking that we need to cover. And what we did on the IB side is we tried to figure out how much time each one of these things would take in our examination of these things. So the introduction, we are going to cover a little bit of that high level, like I showed you in the programming course, explaining what RDMA is, the concept behind the OFA software and how things work. So, for instance, the introduction to the OFED architecture and the ULPs. Then we're going to spend a little bit of time on just getting hands-on on what the hardware is, HCAs, switches, routers, and all that stuff. Cables, explain the difference in 12x, 4x, QSFP, CXP, and so on and so forth. And then the next, and probably really starting to get into the meat of the course, will be management concepts as they relate to IB, where you've got the centralized management architecture, and going into connection management and all of the bullets that are listed here. So the next stage would be planning and installation. If you're actually going to put a cluster together, how do you do that? Introduction to topologies so that we can have people have some idea of if you're going to deploy, because that's what we're thinking that we're going to see. We're going to see people that perhaps are trying to put their first or second cluster together, maybe clusters in the neighborhood of 16 to 64 nodes, and we're going to be working with them on doing that. The next section, the installing IB, this will be very much hands-on, where we get them involved with the hardware. One of the things that we've done at UNH is that we have set up the cluster in such a way that we can redeploy 40 nodes in about 30 minutes the way we've got things done. So it's all pixie booted and pretty nicely done. So we're going to allow the students to actually go right through the whole process of putting a cluster together. So the next section here, fabric management, you know, starting to get into things like the SMSA, all the different managers and agents in IB would be covered here. We're not going to actually talk a lot about ULPs. We think there's enough material initially to cover just about how to manage an InfiniBand fabric, and I'll get into a little bit more of that in a minute. And then finally, actually operating a fabric. So you can see sort of the context, you know, talk high level, the architecture, talk about planning and deploying, then actually putting the cluster together, and then finally it's running. How do you operate it? What do you do with it? So one of the things that we're definitely planning on doing in this course is giving them a list of the InfiniBand tools and frankly something better than what you just get in the man pages to try to have a reference document for them to use. And so the final slide on this is just talking about things that are not included initially in this. And you can see that we're not going to be talking about performance initially in this class. We feel that's an advanced topic that might be added later, but initially we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to be talking about SL to VL mapping. I mean, all these things we may talk about depending on the sophistication of the class, but it's not our primary focus. As I mentioned before, we're staying away from the ULPs. It's not that we don't want to teach people those things. We just feel that the fabric management, the core management, is what our task to teach. And then if people want to learn about ULPs and want more courses after this, we'll work on that. So I think that covers InfiniBand. iWarp is fairly similar in terms of overall structure, but obviously it's very much more oriented towards the Ethernet world. We've enlisted the aid of Tom Chichura and some of his people, Tony Ackerman, and we are very much would be pleased to have feedback from the community, both from IB and iWarp point of view, not only in things that you think maybe we've missed in the syllabus, but also as we put the course together and as we're developing this. Anybody that is willing to contribute, we'd greatly appreciate it. So I think the iWarp will have some more, will get fleshed out a little bit more as we go, but you can see this sort of some similar structure to this. You know, again, planning the iWarp cluster, installing it, how to manage switches, you know, tricks like, for instance, with OFED. When we were talking to the iWarp folks, they said to us, yeah, there's lots of little things that you can do to optimize performance when you're dealing with an iWarp cluster. So those kinds of things we'll definitely be trying to flesh out and in fact probably learn some ourselves as we go. So the final slides here are just talking about some of the things that we've considered for the future. Things like we've had people ask us about kernel level programming. And of course, I've talked about all the ULPs that we're not initially teaching right now, but they are on the agenda. If the Fabric admin goes well and people want more material, that we've got lots left there. And then I included a slide here for the availability. We've got another instance of the programming course coming up in a couple months, basically, May 22nd and 23rd. I also wanted to make note to people that the course, particularly with the programming course, frankly, it's pretty easy to teach that off-site. We can drag with us a 2U server with 4 nodes in it. We've got our own little cluster. We can do that, or we can VPN again into UNH IOL very easily. We've done it overseas. Happy to go to Asia if people will pay to get us there. The other thing that we're actually set up to do and that we're going to try to do, because the people in Asia have talked to us about it, is we're going to try giving the course by webinar. Our idea is that we would perhaps give it from 6 to 10 at night. They would be 6 to 10 in the morning. And we do it, instead of 2 days in a row, we do it 4 days, 4-hour shifts, so that we're not killing each other trying to do that. So the Fabric admin, I think, is going to be much more difficult to do that, but we'll see how that goes. Yes? Well, it's not, you know, one would think maybe that's less expensive, but it's not. You know, right off the top of my head, I can't tell you what when you come to UNH, it's $24.95. I can't remember whether the webinar is either, like if we go to Europe or Asia, if we go there, it's $34.95, just because we got to pay for, you know, time and everything else. So I think the webinar will be either $24.95 or $29.95 in that same way. Yes, the webinar we would. But it's 4 days, you know, even though we're saying four-hour slots, the reality is it'll probably be 4 6-hour slots. When you think about it, you know how that'll go. And it's not, you know, frankly, I think we'll see how that goes. I mean, if it goes easily and it doesn't put a lot of stress on resources, we might be able to pull that down a little bit. But we don't really want to do the webinar in this country, to be honest with you. I think it's more effective if we have people locally. So it's more targeted, like I say, for people. We've had people from Korea and China and places like that saying, well, you know, we just don't want to come here. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you know, it has some potential. To be honest with you, we haven't given it yet, but I've set it up so that we've got the webinar all set up to do it. So it's just a question of getting, you know, advertising it and getting the first group of people that want to do it, and we'll see how it goes. It may be a great way of doing it, so we'll see. So in any event, the Fabric admin, we expect realistically that's going to be Q3, end of Q3 realistically, before we have that ready. And the goal is to make sure that these programs are all available at least quarterly at UNH, and more frequently if people need it. So I think that's it on that presentation. So I know it's late tonight, and I'm happy to open up the floor for questions or comments, but probably more importantly, if you guys are willing and have the time to quickly look through this, you know, maybe on the flight home, and you've got some ideas and thoughts, critiques, love to have some feedback, particularly people like yourself that are working actively, having to deal with large clusters. We'd love your feedback if you think there's things we need to do.
Well, so I think the one comment that I have is, you know, it would be nice if there was a webinar or something that, you know, you could do it chapter by chapter. When they have an hour that, you know, they're just taking, you know, like, you know, days out of your schedule, you know, you can find something to do that. But, you know, sites and everybody needs to know how to do it. It's very easy. You got people coming and stuff like that. So you can't really, you're not going to send them all there. Right? And you probably can't, you know, also take them away for 4 days solid when you're given the course. So, you know, really, per chapter, you know, online, you know, something you can download and hear when it's convenient for you.
It's a great idea. I think the material would have to change a little bit, in as much as, you know, even though we've got a lot of slides, a lot of material, we find that the students that come for 2 days, they tend to be a little overwhelmed. So I think we'd have to break it down much more like a college course, where you did it over a course of a couple of months. And we probably have to put some more support in the material to if it was going to be self-taught. But it's an interesting idea. We've done one-page flyers and that sort of thing, but, you know, frankly, again, that's kind of why I wanted to do this, because I'm sort of seeing if this gets put up on the OFA website, it's a great place for all of you to sort of say, if people ask you about training, here's the flavor of what's available. I see. Yeah, yeah. We can certainly make it better. Yeah. We were supposed to have 20, so I'm 5 minutes late. So, all right. So I guess we're on our next slide, Jim. We want the training presentation, if you would. And Nick, can I invite you to come up? So joining me is Nick Wood. He's the system administrator at University of New Hampshire Interoperability Lab. And he's been the primary person behind the implementation of the interoperability program that we've been working on. And so I think all of you know that we have an interoperability program in place at the University of New Hampshire, and the OFA has been very supportive of that. So I'm going to go into, again, I know I'm late, but I'm going to give you a few highlights before we go into some details. So here's the agenda, the things that we're going to cover. Won't spend much time here. The charter, what we're supposed to do. There's the main group that controls the interoperability program is called the OFA Interoperability Work Group, so OFA IWG. And one other acronym that you'll see is OFILP, which is the OpenFabrics Interoperability Logo Program. And you'll also see OFILG, which is the group. So here's some benefits that we like to point out to the community, things that the program accomplishes. We're currently now validating not only OFED, but we've added testing of all the distro releases, and we're in a very diversified and heterogeneous cluster, as you'll see when you see the list of equipment. Nick has provided access to the cluster 24/7 for members of this group, and they not only can use it for testing for interoperability, but testing of new releases, new things that they're working on, gives them access to all the hardware that is in that cluster. I mentioned already the rapid deployment of cluster topology. Nick has got it down to less than 30 minutes. Basically, you can call him up and say, look, today I want Red Hat 5.6, or I want Scientific Linux 6.2. I'd like to go back to OFED 1.5.2, and he'll deploy the cluster with as many nodes as you like and customize it. And the same thing with WinOFED or anything else that you'd like to do. Nick told me I had to include OFED 1.3, and I said no. He says I can do it, but I said no, we're not. So, you know, the benefit of the program itself to end users, and we really think this is one of its most important benefits, is that the end user can go to this list and see that things have been tested, see the combination of operating systems, OFED stack, all the equipment from the vendors, and feel comfortable this stuff has been tested and certified for interoperability. And from a vendor point of view, you can come in here with your equipment, your platforms, your servers, your operating systems, and do the same thing, prove that you've got interoperability. So what did we do in 2011? We actually did a lot. We've increased the scope of this program hugely. As I mentioned before, we've added testing for RHEL. We're working very closely with them. We're on their beta distribution list so that we're testing all of their latest releases, and we're incorporating them into the actual final testing. Same thing for SUSE. We've been working very closely with him and John Jolly, who is here from SUSE. When we first started, all we used was CentOS. We're now using Scientific Linux as well as CentOS for testing. We also added OFED version interoperability as per some suggestions. So in other words, we hear more and more people still they're adding new nodes to the cluster, and they're deploying whatever, 1.5.4.1, but they've still got some old nodes of 1.5.3 or whatever. So we're adding that. We're not going all the way back to 1.4, but we are doing some version interoperability to document issues. Also doing interoperability between distros, so we see what happens there, including trying to do some interoperability between Windows and Linux. And as it says there, we've added testing for Windows on 2K8 HPC server. So again, you've seen that picture a bit. This just lists the clusters we have available. We have dedicated hardware to cover Linux. For iWarp and IB, we also have a separate dedicated Windows cluster. And like to acknowledge just very generous donations from a number of our members. AMD recently donated quite a few servers to us. Intel has been there for actually since the program inception and has given us a lot of servers over time. HP has also contributed, and last year this group, the OFA, contributed the remaining servers we needed to deploy all that new testing that I showed. So there's a list of the equipment in the lab. We always get the latest stuff from everybody just because people want to get on this list. So, you know, when a new product comes out or you get a new speed bump, we always have the latest stuff. We also have a lot of older legacy stuff that I didn't list that's there and available for you to test against. So our Interop events, we recently just completed one on December 2011. And Nick will be going into some details about that. I've listed the people that participated. As I mentioned, Red Hat and SUSE came on board along with Microsoft to join in the testing, which was a wonderful addition. We've got another event coming up a little over a month away, and it's now our 12th event that we'll have had. So my final slide that I just wanted to cover, again, we all know the picture. Basically, the reason I listed these things, these are the ULPs that we're covering. So we do link-init and fabric-init testing, obviously IP over IB, OpenMPI, RDMA Interop tests some of the bandwidth tools and latency tools, Oracle RTS protocol, NFS over RDMA, SDP when appropriate, when applicable, SM handover and failover within the same brand of SM, SRP, and UDAPL. And then on the iWarp side, we try to do a similar sort of thing where we're doing the link-init and fabric-init. We've also got what we call a connectivity test suite, which goes out and uses those bandwidth tools to stress the fabric. And of course, we run the OpenMPI and UDAPL on the iWarp side as well.